I'm happy to report in season 4, Maisel evolves to the point of being loud and obnoxious.
The chemistry read was, amazing, legendary.
It's definitely spectacular. Some of the stuff that happens in a world you will soon meet is just mind-boggling.
Hi, everyone. This is Maureen Lee Linker with Entertainment Weekly, and this is Around the Table with the cast of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. So we've seen Midge get knocked down a lot the last few seasons, but arguably it seems like coming into season 4, she might be at her lowest point now. Rachel, would you say that's fair to say? And if so, how will she go about recovering from this?
This is a real make it or break it moment for Midge. She's quite literally watching her career or her hopes and dreams of it fly away in a plane. And she's going to have to figure it out. And she and Susie are going to have to do it together. But honestly, they're kind of at their best when they're fueled by desperation and fury. So it's going to be a whirlwind of a season ahead. And I think everyone on the show, but I can speak for Midge in particular, is they've learned a lot these last 4 years, and there are no role models and there's no roadmap in this industry for how she can go about achieving the things she wants to. She's a trailblazer that way. So, this will be about Midge carving out her own space within an industry that there's not being space made for her in.
And she's gone from her apartment with Joel to living with her parents to being on the road to buying back that apartment. Does that feel kind of full circle for Midge? How will this complicate her career goals?
Change is hard and progress is rarely ever linear. So I think Midge is feeling that push-pull between wanting the comforts and the familiarity of her old life, her old apartment, her parents and that kind of relationship, even sometimes the old relationship with Joel, as we've seen over the seasons. But she's also feeling this pull towards the unknown and a curiosity about what she's capable of and what it could look like for her. So you'll see both those things bumping up against each other this season.
Moving forward, we need a game plan. Agreed.
Here she is, boys!
You know what's great about me? Your humility? No, it's when I'm me.
Here she is, world!
No more opening act gigs. What? I will only do gigs where I can say what I want. That's what Lenny would do. That's different. He's Lenny Bruce. Well, then make me Lenny Bruce. Make me a headliner. How am I supposed to do that if I can't even book you?
For Marin and Tony, Abe and Rose have really been on this discovery of themselves, I think, and moving from their more traditional role as parents to kind of finding themselves. How will that continue to develop this season? And do you think in some ways, maybe even subconsciously, Midge has inspired that in them?
All of the things, all of the upheaval that's occurred in Midge's life has had a ripple effect to not just to Abe and Rose, but to many of the other characters too. Abe and Rose find themselves at the end of 3, they're living with Moish and Shirley, their jobs are going away, they're trying to reinvent their lives. In a way, it's changed their relationship, not only to each other, but their relationship to Midge too, because there's almost kind of a role reversal occurring where they've been the caretakers and now she is starting to become a caretaker.
I was going to say the same thing, that there's this, as Tony said, the redefinition of self and a reinvention. But exactly what you said, there's a rediscovery of youth in a way. And it is funny that all of a sudden Midge is the one that is our parent in a sense. And we are the ones who are giving up our jobs and not able, well, Rose hasn't had a job yet, but she's now about to get one. So I love that. I love that Amy and Dan, it totally shocked and surprised me that for a character that I met, 4 or 5 years ago that I never would have imagined would have had a matchmaking professional life. It's such a thrill that I get that kind of job. I have ventured out, as some of the cast knows, and I've actually connected to real matchmakers in town. And I've actually done it prior to getting this role. That was something, a lot of times as an actor, you're unemployed. So I had to use my head and thought somewhere. So I loved matchmaking. That's not something I told Amy and Dan, but I'm definitely way into it now. I'm not as successful as I was as a youth.
I'll have to hit you up. The Maisels and the Weissmans are now closer than ever, physically at least. So how will they all continue to butt heads this season? Kevin or Carolyn, do you want to start?
I do love the dynamic, the animosity, and underneath that, there's great love. We are from a generation that family is most important. All 4 of us in our own ways are attempting to to hold that together. But they are four diametrically opposed people, and it's pretty great. Great conflict to play.
We adore having them as guests, but we look forward to being able to run around our house naked again without judgment, So we're sort of happy they
I can't tell people our daughter's supporting us.
It would be humiliating.
Well, I got it.
Now, the logical cover story for moving in here is that Abe and I bought the place back for you.
What?
That works for me.
So I did all of this for you, and you want to tell the whole world that you did it for me?
I thought this was just an altruistic thing you were doing for us.
It is.
Then we're agreed.
On what?
That you're moving in here with us.
It's done.
Good. I'm getting a tree.
Alex, Susie is still continuing to try to do right by Midge and fix this latest problem, but also expand her business. What were you most excited to dig into with her arc this season?
I spent so much of the first few seasons, no offense, Rachel, but only looking at Rachel's face. I mean, I almost every single season was just Rachel and I, Rachel and I, Rachel and I. And while it was actually wonderful to solidify our working relationship as actors and characters, this season, it was a joy to kind of open up a bit. Susie Meyerson and Associates becomes the goal. So an associate must be gotten, and she tries to cast a wide net and have some new clients. And that's kind of her goal. She loves and adores Midge and thinks she's the most special creature in the world, but she realizes she can't have all her eggs in one basket. So she's got to diversify, lady.
Yes.
I love that. Luke, what can you tell us about Lenny's journey this season? I think by virtue of the fact that he is a real person, he is perhaps the most tortured of these characters.
Yes. Well, we know some facts about him. Clearly, clearly Lenny Bruce was a little bothered by a few things, and met a sort of sad and early end. I think that's always been in the back of my mind and playing him in whatever degree I am playing him. But I think we felt a little bit duty bound to kind of address that a little more explicitly, which, I think you'll see a bit of this year, the sort of the fairy godmother that he's always presented as is beginning to come down to earth a little bit more. And, gravity has a way of pulling you in.
Michael, coming into this season, Joel is about to really ramp up things with the club, and he has this romance with May. How is all of that going to shape his journey this season, and particularly his continuing relationship with Midge and the ebb and flow of that?
The thing I love about Joel is that he's constantly evolving. And certainly this his new relationship with May plays a part. You're going to see how this relationship impacts his family and obviously more specifically Midge. And there's a lot of twists and turns. I don't know what's going to happen from one season to the next. He's constantly switching jobs too, but I guess the end game is just to see him thrive and see him happy.
All of you can jump in on this one. The action this season is moving squarely back to New York after having been on the road for a lot of last year. How do you think that impacts or shapes the energy of the season as a whole? The
fact that it is a New York centric kind of season means that there's more scenes between, the Maisels and the Weissmans together. And that is always, for me, just a recipe for a lot of laughs. Just personally, watching it, of course, but just personally getting to act with these fine people is just such a joy, especially when we're all together.
Well, it's like life too, I think, when you're home and everybody is in one place. There's just more combustion, there's more interaction. The more spread out it gets, it's exotic and it's exciting, but we're not together. It's like when the season comes out, I become an audience member because when they were far away on the road, I went, oh, wow, look at that. We weren't there. So it was fun for those of us who stay home to be able to be with all of them.
Kicking off at Coney Island and the Wonder Wheel, the idea that we have this exposition, right, that Midge has to divulge to both families, and how each family member takes that news and information and deals with it individually while physically, metaphorically in this topsy-turvy, upside down Wonder Wheel. It was just brilliant. And Amy and Dan continue to shock in that opening scene of the new season every time. At the table read, I think we were all exhilarated. And then afterwards, I remember everyone kind of checking in with each other. Are we really going to Coney Island? We really went to Coney Island.
That Wonder Wheel scene, we actually shot the bulk of it on one of our stages, and it was kind of a miraculous technological feat. I have a video somewhere that I've been trying to find lately of us all actually shooting that scene. And the way we did it is we all took turns sitting in one carousel car or one Wonder Wheel car. And the rest of the cast would be off screen shouting the lines at each other. And we wanted to help each other keep our energy up. So there's this completely insane video of us all screaming at whoever's in the car. It took us 2 days to shoot it. And by the end of the 2 days, none of us had voices and we were so exhausted. But it was just another amazing example of this particular family on this show kind of being there for each other and lifting everyone up, and nobody dropped the ball. It was just as funny the 500th time as it was the first.
Well, I think audiences are very divided. Some of them are team Joel and Midge. Some are team Linny and Midge. And some would probably prefer Midge find someone else completely different from those two options.
Midge.
What team are you all on, and how will we see those various threads develop this season?
Rachel and I both feel pretty strongly that the true romance on the show is in fact a womance, that Midge and Susie, the smidge of it all, are really, I think, the coolest relationship on television right now, and more interesting. And I like that. It's interesting the fans still want to go to picking them. It's like they just want to turn it into The Bachelorette somehow, but we will not let them. We want to make it Lucy and Ethel.
What about Ben?
Yeah, right.
Oh, you're going back to him?
He's a doctor. He's sensible for once.
This is the place.
Great.
Big and airy. It needs a spruce.
Well, someone tell me, when is it my turn?
What was it before?
Well, we use it as a kind of house that one could feel safe in.
So it was a safe house.
Something like that.
Without technically spoiling anything, Midge gets a new job this season, and we know how much Amy loves musicals. So how much was Gypsy a touch point this season, or did it shape or influence any of your work?
It's hard to talk about this without giving too much away, but there's a new outlet for the love of music and musicals and dance in this season that intersects predominantly with Midge's new job, as you put it, but also with a handful of other folks as well. Amy loves music and musicals. I mean, there's such an encyclopedia, Amy and Dan, of music and film and dance and art. So I think naturally that is so deeply ingrained into every season of the show. It's definitely spectacular. Some of the stuff that happens in a world you will soon meet is just mind-boggling, and it looks just as incredible on screen as it did in person, which felt hard to top.
There's a lot of new guest stars this season. Can you tell us about them? And anybody can jump in.
What are we allowed to say?
I was going to say, what's the secret? Are the guest stars the secret?
Anybody? Well, we know Milo's going to be on. I know that. We know that much.
Alex can tell you more about Milo on this season.
Yeah, Amy and Dan were very gracious and generous. They let me be a part of, because he's my love interest this season. So they let me be a part of the casting process, and the chemistry read was, amazing, legendary, really. And so, yeah, that's a sheer joy and pleasure to see Susie have some horizontal screen time. I think you're going to enjoy that.
You're my manager. Manage me. That's not how the business works. Then let's change the business.
Ready or not, here comes Mama.
And I'll end by asking for all of you and maybe as a whole, but then also for your character personally, what can you tell us about the theme or the driving thrust of season 4?
For Abe, certainly, the main theme is transitioning. And as Rachel referenced earlier, blazing a new trail and taking large risks. That would be my character's trajectory.
I think for Rachel and I, it's rebuilding and not just trying to restack the Legos into the same shape, but kind of let go of the instructions and see what we can create and make our own sculpture, as it were, or our own structure.
Build back better, as they say.
I think for me and my family, it has to do with how do you respond to change? For people who are so deeply rooted in tradition and who cherish it so much, how are they going to navigate changes, all the changes around them?
And I think that's what it's been since day one. It's just navigating the changes.
Yeah, I think for Rose, there's she's always been incredibly confident. I admire and look up to her this way, but this particular year, the confidence had to be so fierce because she had to, let go of all things that had given her stability, essentially, whether it was the structure of her own home and getting a job and letting go of money that she'd gotten from her family. So she basically started, as everybody's saying, the same thing. She sort of started at square one and was going to have to redefine, which I love. We're so lucky that in this particular season, many years later, that we get to continue to do the circular redefinition. Because, many shows, the characters start to get staler or just kind of more of the same. Mm-hmm. And I love it. This one is throw it all away and start over.
I'm happy to report in season 4, Maisel evolves to the point of being loud and obnoxious.
And lovable.
That's a real stretch for Kevin.
All I can say is that, Lenny is just sort of moving in his continued pursuit to, use Midge as a conduit to get closer to Rose.
Yeah, I mean, Alex said it best. I think Midge and Susie are on a similar journey. It's a make it or break it moment.